This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder with 7 drive modes. The Pathfinder is built for even the most epic journeys. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Here we go.
Hey, Pashi.
Hey, Sufi.
Life moves fast, Pashi.
Yeah, it sure does.
Moves so fast. You know what we totally missed?
What's that?
We did our 50th episode of Family Trips.
That's nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
You know what's also nuts?
Huh.
Is how mom and dad want to celebrate.
Well, how's that?
They want to do an episode. They're keeping a list of everything we say about them.
Oh, yeah. Dad wants to do a rebuttal episode.
He wants to do a rebuttal episode. This is what we're doing. Here we are doing a podcast. Basically, we're doing this podcast for them, right? They're the perfect audience for it. And what do we get in return? They want to do a rebuttal episode.
Well, I'm home right now. And yeah, Dad was saying he wanted to do this rebuttal episode. And I said, have you been taking notes? And he's like, no, but I'm going to have to go back through and just listen to the intros. And I'm like, we've done 50 episodes. And he's like, well, when we listen, we're like on road trips. Like we're driving a fair distance. And so I'm driving, so I can't take notes. And I was like, well, tell Mom, who's sitting next to you, to write some things down.
Doing a crossword puzzle. Literally, she's got pen in her hand.
Pen in hand, just take a little note. But I'm very curious to know all the things that they're going to rebut.
Do you know who's going to sponsor that episode?
Who's that?
Sour Grapes. That episode of Family Trips will be sponsored by Sour Grapes.
I'm home, and we were driving through town the other day, and Dad's like, there's this pond coming up, this beautiful pond on the left. You'll see it. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and there's all these signs, all these like real estate signs, but there's no houses. And so I don't know if they're going to like build houses in there or what. And then our neighbor Franz was also in the car, and he's like, "What? Yeah, all these signs." And we drive by them, and Mom's like, "Yeah, I guess it looks like maybe they're going to build houses." And I was like, "You detectives, like you figured this out." They have like, and it's just woods, and they're like, "What's going on here?" There's like all these realty signs, these half driveways, just sort of carved into the woods, and it's like, yeah, of course they're building houses.
Oh, that's so good. They're detectives.
Yeah. Dad also, boy, he'll want to rebut this, but he can't rebut this.
Yeah. By the way, the rebuttal episode might be our longest ever.
We were watching a movie last night talking about a detective, and there's a twist. Yeah. There's a twist in the movie.
Okay.
3 seconds before the twist, he says what it is.
He's still doing this. I can't believe he's still doing it.
Like, whoever made this movie is like, you're going to pull the rug out 3 seconds before. You win nothing. You rob the moment of its effect.
Now, here's the thing. Sometimes he won't ruin the twist, but Pashi, I'll allow you to do the impression. The twist happens, and then Dad says what real loud?
I knew it. Yeah.
The best I knew it wasn't from Dad. I hope I haven't said this on the podcast. The best I knew it was that movie Call Me By Your Name. I was watching it with Alexi's family.
I don't know if you've told it or not.
Anyways, the dudes make out and my brother-in-law yells, I knew it. And I was like, what did you think this movie was about? Just, what in the world? It was the best I knew it of all time. Dad's I knew it are always, he just wants credit for having been one ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. He is a detective.
He is. He's a little bit of a detective.
The amount of conversation about what day it is and what, like, there's one day you take, like, the trash out because the trash guys are going to come. And then there's another day that's recycling. And then there's another day that's, like, it's paper. And then there's cans and bottles. And the conversations that go on among our parents and the neighbors, it's no one just has it written down.
Here, I'm going to do an impression of Dad asking you a question.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Monday.
I knew it.
He did the other day. When I was flying home, he's like, I'll see you tomorrow night. But it was 2 days away from when I was flying. And I was like, I come on Friday. And then he texted back and said, I know you come on Friday. I was like, okay. Like, well, why on Wednesday did you say I'll see you tomorrow night?
Now, you mentioned him, and I feel like we haven't talked about Franz enough on our podcast. We've been lucky enough to have the same neighbor almost our entire life. Franz and Linda, a wonderful couple that live across the street from us. And Franz, you've been home more recently than me. Franz is the closest thing in my life I've ever had to a Kramer.
Yes, he is the wacky neighbor.
But he has to walk across a cul-de-sac. He's not across the hallway.
Right, but when he arrives, he comes right in.
He opens our front door.
Yeah.
And he is the most lovely man. The only thing that surpasses his loveliness is his volume.
Which is It's can be piercing.
He has the accent of a man named Franz. Mm-hmm. Give me what he says when he opens the door.
Hey, what are you doing? Is anybody naked?
He does ask. He opens the front door of our home and loudly asks if anyone's naked.
Yeah.
But he only, in case you're worried that gets old, he's only done it every time.
He says nanu nanu all the time.
Yep.
And I was saying, we had lunch with him yesterday, and when they boxed up the rest of his, the half of his sandwich he didn't eat, and they wrote on it nanu nanu. And I feel like Franz has made more unintentional references to Mork and Mindy than anyone in the history of the world.
I think probably an excellent chance he's never seen the show.
Yeah.
Like he got his Mork and Mindy catchphrases secondhand.
Still using nanu nanu.
Yeah, he's not developed a new catchphrase in the past 40 years.
But yeah, I was home, we played golf with him. He always has a little flask with him. And he also, one of his other phrases is, good shot, take a shot, bad shot, take a shot.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah. And I had 2 shots on a 9-hole round yesterday, and then we go to lunch, and I got water, and he was sort of like, what? He's like, well, I have a martini or something. And it was the afternoon, and I was like, I'm going to go home and fall right asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, if anybody from our parents' club is listening, and this is violation of club rules, it's a different Franz. It's not the one you're thinking.
That's not his club. He's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you are home, and I came to Boston. I did stand-up in Boston.
Yeah.
And you came up with Mom and Dad because you were home. And we got, you guys showed up. We went and had lunch. And then there was time between lunch and the show. I was so tired.
Yeah.
I'd done 2 shows.
You sounded like you needed to not be talking.
And
be
we
awake.
went, and I said, what is your plan on what to do? And Mom and Dad were like, we thought we'd just come hang out in your hotel room and play cards for the next, like right up until your show. And I said, I immediately was like, I really need a nap. Everybody was totally cool with it. I'm not busting. But then you guys came over, and I feel like you didn't stay that long because I went to bed and I did not hear you.
Yeah, we went down into the lobby and we had a card game. We played Crew.
Great. All right, good. Well, it was appreciated. And then you came to the show.
Show was great.
Had a little bit of material about you.
Oh, yeah.
First time you'd heard it. I don't want to go into what it is, but it was a little bit of material about you.
Yeah, but it took some good digs at me, which I appreciate. I got no beef with.
No beef with.
Yeah.
All right. So I had a good feeling, but I had some trepidation. Gave you a heads up.
Yeah. I think you got to let that stuff. Yeah. No, if anyone's like, hey, you went at me pretty hard. I don't know. I think you got to recognize that someone's being a comedian. You might, dial some things up a little bit. You might embellish to a degree.
Yeah.
A seed of truth and everything. But, no, it was really fun.
And then you guys you came to a 7:00 show, and then you drove back to New Hampshire, the hour drive, which I really remember from our youth is, we would maybe go see a Red Sox game and have to drive back to New Hampshire. And it's an hour, but at nighttime it would feel like a fairly long drive. Did you drive or did Dad?
Dad drove.
Yeah. It's so funny, even in this day and age, we've never taken the wheel of Dad's car.
Yeah. Well, also when you do, we're both taller than Dad, right?
Yeah.
The seat in his car, I've driven his car when he's, not there. It's so far back.
It's so far back.
And I just don't know how he reaches the steering wheel. It's like, he's like, it must be like a lowrider for him. But yeah, I always have to move the seat forward. And I don't know how he does it. Because you look at him driving and he's not like hunched forward, like, with his chin over the wheel. He's laid back when he's driving.
He's got his thing. He's good to go.
Yeah.
Well, it was very nice. I'm glad we got to all see each other. It had been too long. And very excited about this rebuttal podcast, I think, as our listeners are as well. And we have a wonderful conversation with a very funny woman, Pamela Adlon, mother of three girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was delighted by this conversation.
Yeah, as was I.
But first, why don't you guys listen to a little Jeff Tweedy?
Family trips with the Myers brothers. Family trips with the Myers brothers. Here we go.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
So happy to see you.
Do you remember me?
Do I remember you?
I never think anybody.
I remember you.
Do you remember the last time I did your show?
2016? Is that right?
It was right before all the shit went down. It was the primaries.
Oh.
And I looked at you and I was like, and John Prine was on as well.
Ah.
I'm wearing a John Prine t-shirt right now.
Oh, fuck!
Yeah. We love John Prine.
Soundtrack
Look at
of
your
our
adorable
lives.
brother. Like, who even know? Why do you gatekeep him? That's so rude.
He's out now. We let him out.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm here, Pamela.
Fair.
It was a real break glass in case of the world going sideways. And once it did, we were like, let Josh out. Let Josh out to the light, the masses in these dark times.
Oh, my God. Wow.
It is. I can't. Yeah. So of course it was. I mean, if it was 2016, right? It was. It was.
No,
right before things
it
got-
was 2020, wasn't it?
Oh no, I think it was 16 because it wasn't. It was the primaries before. It wasn't that.
I
late?
thought it was right before COVID that I did you.
How many times have you been on?
Twice.
Okay, so maybe it was. Maybe I'm only.
I don't
remembering the
fucking
first
know.
one. All right.
I'm confusing you with Jimmy Fallon. Doesn't everybody do that?
How dare you?
I know.
I
know,
don't.
but I remember looking at you and going, okay, I guess I'll see you on the other side.
And here we are.
And thank you,
Everything-
Josh.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very excited to talk to you, Pamela, because you are something that I am raising, something that I am not, but something I'm raising, which is New York City kids. You were a New York City kid.
Yes.
And we are suburban boys. The Myers brothers are just very quiet suburban boys. And it is so fascinating to watch my children grow up in New York City. So what was it like? Did you love it?
Well, so I was born at Doctor's Hospital, which was near Gracie Mansion. It's not there anymore.
It does sound, it's the funniest name of a hospital, Doctor's Hospital.
Doctor's
Sounds like
Hospital.
a kid's name. They let the kids name it.
And that
It was that or Plumber's
Totally.
Hospital, but yeah.
what do you want to call this? But yeah, and I lived on the Upper East Side until I was like 6. But then we moved to Scarsdale, to Edgemont.
Gotcha.
Ah.
And then we moved to LA. And then I moved back to New York City for high school. And I went to PCS, Professional Children's School, named also by children.
Oh, I went to teacher's school.
Oh my God, that's
So
so
you
funny.
moved back for high school, and then all of high school was in Manhattan?
So I went to 13 different schools. My
you
dad
really?
my dad was a writer, producer. And so he would get a job and there was a time that every 6 months he was moving us across the country, back and forth. He was like an OG TV writer, producer.
Did you dread those moves, or did you get so used to them that you expected they were always coming?
You know, I feel like they probably saved me from getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't fall in with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
I didn't like get exposed to too many things because all of a sudden we were gone.
Yeah.
So I know I would have probably had sex when I was 9 and you know, hitting the crack pipe, you know, but I'm leaving town just before the
shoot.
trouble could start.
Just before you're about to close the deal sexually, they get you on a plane.
Or cracktually.
And so, but it was always,
Exactly.
it was New York and LA, right? That's the
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Did you
I
have
was-
a preference as a kid?
I kind of got into a phase where I wasn't happy. I wanted to be back in New York. I had a whole idea that that's where I should belong. And so I didn't really plant roots in LA. And then finally I was like, what are you doing? You know, I mean, that lasted me until I was an adult. And I was like, I'm making a living. I'm having a good life here. And then eventually raising 3 girls and doing that whole thing. So I just stopped thinking that there was something more. And it's kind of the way, you know, I think about life now at my tender age. Because it's like, you can fantasize about living anywhere in the world. And we're lucky enough to be able to do that. But, you know, if you move to like Fiji or whatever people's idea of the best place to be, where are your friends? Where are your people? Where's your heart? You know? So I choose to be good where I am.
That's great. Now, your girls, were they all
They're
East
all,
Coast or all
no,
West
they're
Coast?
all LA kids.
And so they
all-
grew up in LA.
Yeah. They're
And
like,
did they stick around? Are they still there? Because they are older.
one is still home.
Okay, great.
One is still home. And it's fucking weird. when my first one was moving out, the second one, the middle, and remember, single mom. So
Yeah.
this was all like no zone defense at all. And the first one, you know, made the announcement. The second one right away because the competition.
Oh.
This is relevant to the pod.
Of course. Yeah. Well, that's the.
Let's keep going down this road.
Yes. So it's so funny because my brother is almost 3 years older than me. And when he moved out, I moved out. Still not over it. Still fucking pissed. Still holding it over me.
Oh, he's mad that you just stole his thunder and we're also.
Yeah.
So funny.
Total thunder stealing. So in my life, my oldest was moving out. Then the middle, like I go over to her room and she's sitting on her bed playing Minecraft. And I said, "You're moving out? Is this a real thing?" Like I just looked at her like, and she's like this on Minecraft with that hypnotizing music. And I'm standing in the doorway like, oh, I feel so free and high. Like that music on Minecraft is unbelievable. So I'm just looking at her and I'm getting hypnotized. And she looks up from her computer and she goes, "Yeah, I found a place. I'm moving out on Thursday." And I'm like, and I walk down the hallway like a brick in my stomach, like somebody threw a brick.
A
And I-
Minecraft brick.
A Minecraft brick. They're both sharp, the Myers brothers.
Who's
and-
there with you?
You know the A camera, B camera.
Oh,
Oh,
right,
there you
right.
go. Perfect.
You take it.
Oh, yeah,
here
you're
and
directing.
there.
You're directing now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but I remember looking at her and I said, "I've been waiting since you were 3 for you to move out, and now that it's happening, I want to throw up." And she was like, "Thanks, Mom."
How old was she?
Probably 19.
Okay. How old were you when you moved out?
I was just a little bit younger than that.
Okay.
I have a question, and I apologize to the Minecraft community for my ignorance, because my kids aren't quite old enough to play it yet, and I was, of course, too old when it came out. 19 seems old for Minecraft. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, there's people like,
I would assume if a 19-year-old was playing
Yeah.
Minecraft, they were going to live with you forever.
well, I think she was 12. Let's
No,
just
wait.
correct the record.
How was your youngest when the older sisters moved out?
Fantastic. I mean, this is the youngest of 3 girls.
Must be the dream right now.
Like a Manx cat, whichever way you throw me, I land on my feet. You know what I mean? And so, she's the Robert Plant of all of us.
Mhm.
Like, she walks through and everybody's like, cool, just, if I could get a minute of your time, you seem really chill. She was great, and we settled into a routine that was, quite lovely. Like, we have quiet. Like, there's so much music and incredible love and stimulus in the house. And Nana lives next door.
Oh,
I swear to
that's nice.
God. And so, but, she and I like to move in quiet spaces together, which is really nice. We cook together, we'll do the dishes and things like that. That was a big part of that transition, was real. And I'm realizing this now, that her sisters were gone and things were quiet. And we just kind of didn't need to fill in the silence.
I, having 3 children, cannot wait for that. I mean, it's
Well, Seth,
years and years away.
You
Yep.
said like when one of them is away, then it's just a totally different dynamic and it's
Yeah.
much quieter.
Getting one gone is unbelievable. And I will say we have, when our oldest, who's only 8 years old, which is deeply unfair, like he came back and immediately started fighting with his brother. And we were both, my wife and I were both like, it was so nice when you were gone.
Totally. Totally. Wait, you have 104 fever and spinal meningitis? You're still going on the school trip.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're fine. Let me
Just
spray your
don't
mouth.
say
You're
you feel
fi-
hot.
Just-
Don't tell anyone you feel hot.
Just put this soccer towel on the back of your neck and go.
Did you have like a move when you were going into a new school? How would you ingratiate yourself to a new group of people? If you never fell in with the bad kids, you must have found crowds. You must have found friends, or maybe not. Maybe you didn't. But do you get better at that technique of being the new kid at school, doing it so frequently?
You know what? That's such a good question. I think that I was mostly, I just like people. I always was like a people person, but I was scrappy when I was a kid. I would be like, oh, you think it's funny that he's wearing a sweater with a belt? That's gay to you? Come here! Like 5th grade.
yeah.
I was this small, like anybody who would make fun of people, and I would get into like physical, I would always I'm a 70s kid, guys.
I would also think a scrappy 70s New York kid in LA, that almost seems like a movie I watched that doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
I think I was in it.
Yeah, I think you were in it. You played yourself. But it does seem like
You played yourself.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone's like, Pamela Adlon's first movie, she plays a scrappy. She was very young. She was 9
Swear
years
to God.
old. Yeah.
I played it in movies, on TV with like Ed Asner or Red Fox or just pick one.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
This episode of Family Chips is supported by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Hey, Pashi.
Yeah, Sufi.
From muddy jungle paths and snowy trails to rolling sand dunes, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has the capability to take you to some of the most epic destinations on Earth.
Oh man, we are excited to once again partner with Nissan because, as our listeners know, this podcast, Family Trips, is occasionally a podcast about trips. and about the joy of having adventures and exploring new places, and making memories.
And if you're one of our listeners who doesn't know the podcast is called that, what is the holdup? There's no better vehicle for chasing bigger, better, more exciting adventures than the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder with 7 drive modes. The Pathfinder's available intelligent 4-wheel drive is built for even the most epic journeys.
This thing can tow. A Nissan Pathfinder can tow, Soof, so you can bring the fun with you.
Yeah. How many pounds would you say?
6 thou.
Oh boy, that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun to tow. Nissan also knows it's not just about where you go in a Pathfinder. The real fun comes from getting there.
Ooh, now that is well said, Sufi.
Thank you.
Whether getting there is a new physical place or just the end of an amazing story told by one of our guests.
That's why we're excited to partner with Nissan to celebrate adventures everywhere.
So thanks again to Nissan for supporting family trips and for the reminder to chase bigger, better, more exciting adventures. And enjoy the ride along the way. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent 4-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo. Family Trips is supported by Cuts Clothing. Hey, Baji.
Yeah, Sufi.
Do you know what I'm wearing right now?
T-shirt?
Yeah, guess what? Guess what brand?
Oh, that's Cuts Clothing.
That's Cuts, and it's my first Cuts, and I'm very happy to say I'm a big fan of Cuts so far.
Yeah, I mean, it is high quality, wrinkle-free. Their T-shirts are so buttery soft that you can look like you're dressing up even when you're dressing down. Yeah, you heard that. Wrinkle-free. Wrinkle-free, Soof.
No wrinkles, and you know, Posh, you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
In the wrong shirt, I'm Wrinkle City.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
I also like Cuts because that's, as you know, that's what I've always called my muscles,
Yep.
my cuts. And I've always said things like, oh, bad news about my cuts. But the good news about Cuts, the t-shirt, is for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use code TRIPS at checkout at cutsclothing.com. That's 20% off your order at cutsclothing.com with promo code TRIPS. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Experience the perfect blend of style and comfort with Cuts Clothing.
Cuts doesn't just make T-shirts, they also make joggers that look way better than your khakis and are 1,000 times more comfortable. All their clothing is as comfortable as athleisure, but fashionable enough to wear to work.
Here we go.
So obviously you're going back and forth. Your dad's working in TV. So you've got that sort of lifestyle where you're traveling a lot for his work to live places. But did you guys take trips? Did the four of you and your brother and your parents go places?
Many. My mom was early days. She was a travel agent. We went on 2 cruises, and those were incredible. But I remember one that we were late because, like, my parents rented like Vespas. We went to Nassau and Bermuda, and we were running back to the ship because we were late. Which is why I'm never late. Like, maybe it stemmed from that, the anxiety of running for a fucking ocean liner cruise, screaming and feeling scared and embarrassed and everything. And, but those cruises were great vacations. I just remember the last time that we all did a trip together. And
What was that one?
It was really, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was just, we were just cusping adulthood, my brother and I.
Gotcha.
And
bad time to be with your children.
In a car.
Okay.
Road trip. My dad's BMW, whatever, sedan. It was just the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm. It was like, my dad was kind of, he was a very, very volatile person. I mean, he was somebody that was very beloved, and he was a comedy writer. He was a comedy guy. But at home, it was another story.
Oh,
and, and my dad and I like locked horns the whole time. I was like my childhood, from the time I was 11 until 18, moved out. And one of the reasons I had to move out, well, the reason was because I couldn't live under the same roof with my dad.
What was
It
your
was too
brother's
hard.
relationship with him? Was it very different?
So recently, I guess it was October, I'm with my brother and his wife, and we're talking about our childhoods, and he said, he just looked at me, and I mean, I don't want to say too much, but I'll tell you guys if we go out after the pod, just for him. But I realized that we both had an entirely different childhood.
Yeah.
That 3 years, something happened. And I feel like, my dad and I clashing, it was such a part of, my genetic Minecraft of my body, like how I was formed. And I would go for it with my dad. I was the Scrappy, remember? And so like there was family dinners, almost every single one would end up with somebody getting up and storming away from the table. And, I would come home and, sorry, Dad, I feel bad, but wow, did you hear that?
No.
Something fell off the shelf when I said, sorry, Dad. Oh my
He's
God,
like a
it's
cat,
a
like,
Tibetan
go ahead.
scroll.
Talk
A
shit. and
Tibetan
he's just
scroll,
gonna
and you
knock
don't
it.
even own a Tibetan scroll.
I swear to God, wait.
Pamela has left the Zoom box to go check the scroll.
God. I'm not kidding. This
Oh my goodness.
God.
fell off the shelf when I said, sorry, Dad.
Well,
Whoa, that is deep. And there have been birds pecking at my window, but that's another story. So anyway,
no one has ever ignored more ominous omens to do this podcast than you.
Yeah.
poo, poo, poo. But I knew, like, my dad, he was funny. He was a funny guy. And I remember him walking into my room when I was 11, and he would say things like, it says in the book, there was no book. He would just say things out loud that little girls and their fathers, they have a hard time getting along when the girls turn 12 and I'm like, what the fuck are you telling me this for? I'm 11 years old. I don't want this. But I think that, he foresaw, or I don't even know. I think that he was trying to, like, he knew that the teen years were coming. But my dad, it was hard. It was hard growing up. So when I went back to high school in New York, my brother was home with my dad here in LA.
Got it.
And that's part of the bitterness.
I see.
Bitterness.
Where did you live in those years when you were back in New York? Who did you live with?
My mom.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I lived at the Carnegie house and on 57th and 6th, around there. And it was great for me. I mean, I was, in school and working, and my brother has not, you know what I mean? He never, I feel like some locking horns is important.
Yes.
So, I mean, he was always kind of like my bully because he's my big brother. But I always couldn't get enough. And growing up, he would play, he created one of the first computer games. He's absolutely brilliant. And he gave me a job one summer punching floppy disks. We had the first computers in our house. This is so crazy. He said he was going to pay me for punching squares out of the corners of floppy disks. And I remember my room being covered with all these little squares. He still owes me.
He still hasn't paid you. Now, I have a question. Your dad, was he still around as you became a comedy writer? Did he? I mean, it must have been interesting for you guys that you locked horns and then you sort of followed his path.
Well, when I was in my early 20s and I'd been living on my own for a while, we rekindled in a big way. And we actually, I kind of used his little technique on him inadvertently because this is the way I started writing comedy, was my dad and kind of doing therapy. So I wrote a scene about a daughter and a dad and the dad's writing partner. So my dad had a writing partner and they wrote like a whole bunch of crazy shit in the 80s, including Venus, Goddess of Love, starring Vanna White.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. They would write, anyway, my father, Don Siegel, who came from writing comic books, softcore porn novels in the 60s, and then like Chico and the Man, the Jeffersons, the Love Boat, all of that. And his partner was Phil Margo, who was a token, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And so they were writing partners, and I wrote a scene about these two Altacocker writing partners and this young daughter of one of them. And I was able to kind of shine a light on my dad's little naughty behaviors. And he died laughing.
Ah.
And
that must have been something.
It was incredible. It was really incredible. And, then I started kind of trying to do stuff with my dad. And there was a book that they were going to option. And I said, let me buy the option. Let's pursue this. And we had meetings. I remember we met with Sidney Poitier, and like I was young and I was doing like these big out of the box things when I was in my early 20s. But he never saw my trajectory into being a professional writer. And my mother has said to me, like, I guess when Better Things season 1 or 2, when it started to kind of blow up and get bigger, she said, "It's a good thing your father's not alive."
Because he would have resented your success?
Jews, what are you talking about?
So now your mother is British?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever
Yeah.
go, when you were little, did she have family back in England? Did you go visit?
Yeah, we went to England, and one of my core memories is, I think I was like 11 or 12, and she took me to see the Rocky Horror Show live. And it was like, they were like fucking and swapping in beds, and it was crazy. I'm so happy I was there, but not with my mom.
Yeah, that's the problem.
My English mom.
A British mom, even worse, right?
And I remember sitting in the seat, and I kind of was like trying to peripherally see my mom, and I felt her head turn to look at me like this, and I pretended to be asleep.
A very hard musical to sleep through, Rocky Horror.
I was asleep. I don't see anything, Mom.
Yeah.
But I was a sheltered child, so I knew that it wasn't my place to be watching the thing she took me to.
Now, see, I wouldn't have guessed sheltered at all. A comedy writer, father, New York, LA, in the business. Do you felt sheltered?
They were strict.
Okay.
It was a double standard in my house. My brother had one thing. I had another. I was barely allowed to have a friend over. And if my brother was going out, my father would be like, "You going to get your pipes cleaned?"
How old were you when you could go out like in Manhattan on your own or just with your friends? Like, was that a thing that was not allowed?
I think I actually, you just triggered a memory on the day I graduated high school. We went to, there was I graduated from, we were at Avery Fisher Hall at Lincoln Center.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to eat green eggs and ham at this place that used to be right outside Lincoln Center by One Lincoln Plaza where we were living. I don't know if you guys remember the place that sold green eggs and ham. Anyway, I went out after that. I ended up smoking opium.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because high school's over.
Yeah.
It's time to transition into adulthood.
I think opium. I think
Take it out.
No, the
We
statute
don't want the kids.
limitations. The statute of limitations is passed on opium.
Also, kids
You're good.
can't find opium right
You
now.
can't find- yeah.
Thank
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
This was 1984.
yeah.
You know,
Times Square was full of opium dens.
dude, Times Square, if
I know.
people only knew
I know.
where I would get my fake ID. Like literally, you're like, oh, I scratched it off too many times. I got to go get another one.
What do you pay for a fake ID? What do you think you were paying for a fake ID in Times Square?
Probably like $20.
Yeah.
And was it a thing where they would take your picture in front of a full driver's license? You know, like with a giant sized driver's license? Or how would they do it? Do you remember?
I think it was like, you'd put your head in a circle and then you'd be like E.T. in the basket with Elliot behind you. Like everybody bought everything.
Right.
Like it was like, and I would get other people's IDs and I would be like, my name is Virginia Thompson and I live at, like I would, like we all
Memorize it,
did
yeah.
that. But I remember when I was 17 in New York City, I couldn't wait to turn 18 because I was going to be legal. I turned 18, they changed the drinking age to 19.
Ugh.
When I turned 19, they changed it to 21.
You took it personally, I hope.
Yes, of
But the
course.
good news is they kept lowering the age for opium.
19. I can't
It
believe
was
the
the
drinking
one
age was
time.
19.
Right before you jumped on, I was talking to Josh about this. I'm actually giving a commencement address for a New York City school at Lincoln Center in a couple of
You
weeks.
are? At
And
A.B.
I
Fisher?
don't. And I'm so I don't know how you would feel if you got asked to do this. What wisdom do I have to impart to 18-year-old kids? I feel like I'm a 1,000-year-old man to them.
It's such
I
a
guess
good
I'm there
question.
for the parents, right? I'm there for the parents.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
okay.
They're like,
Right.
who is that?
Right,
What?
exactly. None of the kids are going to be.
But, just think about like your favorite person and Google the commencement speeches they've given
Yeah.
and
Just
it'll
do their
trigger
speech.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll like trigger something. But it's like, you just want something that's going to resonate with them and not just be Seth Meyers for mom and dad.
Yeah. I think
know.
I actually have one thing that, based on my college experience, one thing I think I want to say, which is, again, I grew up in the suburbs. Josh and I both went to school in Chicago. And I remember all the New York kids were snobby about Chicago. And they would say, this isn't a real city compared to New York City. And so I'm going to tell all these New York kids at the commencement, like, when you go somewhere else for school, like, don't talk about how it's shittier here.
That's great. And
That's good
totally
advice,
use
right?
the word shittier.
Yeah, just like don't be. I
You'll
mean, we
get
all
'em.
know. We all know. Just don't ruin it for them.
That's hilarious. I
Okay.
love that.
All right,
Great.
good. Glad we're working
Yeah.
through it. And then I'm
Yeah.
going to be like, no, everybody go outside to get your diplomas in opium.
I mean, I don't know if it's too real, too raw, but this trip, this road trip, where were you guys going on this trip? Was there a plan that went awry, or was it just sort of personalities that conflicted?
Yes, I remember everything. We were on our way to Laughlin, Nevada, which is not even like Las Vegas or a thing. Like it was like, and our parents told us like, it's going to be a thing. Laughlin. And we were like, really? And my dad was just at his worst and he was driving and I remember him being really mean to my mom. And when we got to like Laughlin, I mean, I had to be 21 because I feel like I went into a casino.
Mhm.
I don't know.
When you
but
showed up, they they changed the legal gambling age to 22. It's so, it is, I mean, yeah, going to Laughlin feels like they waited too late to book a room at Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Reno.
And the drive. And I remember like making some jokes like on the way that like I wrote a song and it was from a musical that I was writing called The Button Pushers. And it was about our family.
Oh, it's great. The Button Pushers is great.
I mean, and it was just like, and that was a way that we laughed through because everything was a fucking landmine. You know what I mean? And so it was just a really uncomfortable trip. And I just knew that was the last time.
Yeah,
like it was just, it's not a good story. There's nothing funny about it. It's like, it just feels like really like sad that we ended on the Button Pushers. And then I remember looking at my mom like, really? Like, you're going to fucking hang out with that for another 50 years or whatever.
And did they stay together?
They did until my father dropped dead.
That's good. Well, that's always that's the best time to move on.
What is happening?
So wait,
Get somebody else for this podcast.
Did anything fall down?
Fun.
Did anything fall down when you said that? Okay. Did the scroll jump back on the wall?
Is the scroll in English now? And it's a letter from your father?
The eggs are cooking on the counter.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. Shout out to Claritin for supporting this episode and providing us with samples. Hey, Pashi.
Yeah, Sufi.
You mind if I take this one?
No, please do.
You know me. Allergy City.
Yep.
That is a true story. Mouth breather Jones. When I'm all stuffed up in the nose, not a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, that's true.
Luckily, for someone like me who lives with the symptoms of allergies, I can live Claritin Clear with Claritin D. Claritin D has been a game changer for me, Posh. There's certain places I go, my in-laws' house, our parents' house, where I have an immediate allergic reaction to people their age. No, there's just things in the air, and all of a sudden I can't breathe well. And Claritin D has just made my life so much better. Designed for serious allergy sufferers, Claritin D has 2 powerful ingredients in just 1 pill that relieve your allergy symptoms and decongest your nose so you can breathe better.
I keep a bottle on hand at my house just in case you might come over or anyone with allergies might come over. It's just a good stopgap measure.
Yeah, when your nose is stopgapped.
Right. And if you're having a dinner party and you don't want to sit next to someone who's eating like,
Ready to live life as if you don't have allergies, it's time to live Claritin Clear. Fast and powerful relief. It's just a quick trip away. Ask for Claritin D at your local pharmacy counter. You don't even need a prescription. Go to Claritin.com right now for a discount so you can live Claritin Clear. Use as directed. This episode of Family Trips is supported by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder.
From muddy jungle paths to snowy trails to rolling sand dunes, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has the capability to take you to some of the most epic destinations on Earth.
And we're excited to once again partner with Nissan because, as our listeners know, this podcast, Family Trips, is occasionally a podcast about trips and about the joy of having adventures and exploring new places and making memories.
And there's no better vehicle for chasing bigger, better, and more exciting adventures than the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. With 7 drive modes, the Pathfinder is available. Intelligent 4-wheel drive is built for even the most epic journeys.
And it even has up to 6,000 pounds of towing capacity, so you can bring the fun with you.
But Nissan also knows that it's not just about where you go. In a Pathfinder, the real fun comes from getting there.
Very well said, Pashi. Whether getting there is a new physical place or just the end of an amazing story told by one of our guests.
That's why we're excited to partner with Nissan to celebrate adventurers everywhere.
So thanks again to Nissan for supporting Family Trips and for the reminder to chase bigger, better, more exciting adventures and enjoy the ride along the way. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent 4-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
Here we go.
So you, single mother of 3, where Do you remember the
Girls.
first? Do you remember? Yeah, 3 girls, right? Thanks for clarifying. Like, don't. I want the
Yeah.
full points.
Don't soft. Yeah.
Do you remember the first big trip you took the girls on, where you were the sole parent?
Hawaii.
Oh, so you took a big swing.
Yeah. It was the dynamics of siblings, man. I remember years ago, one of my friends, I was talking about like how they are all at each other's throats and in over my head. And she looked at me and she said, "You don't have a sister. You have nothing to compare this to."
Yeah.
And I realized that was really true. Like, I did not have that bone, that like, you know, executioner's bone that girls in the same house have for each other. It's an intense dynamic, and watching them go through all these phases and like who's the alpha and who's the climate controller of the whole house is so fascinating. And I just wish do you have kids, Josh?
I don't.
Yeah, you feel kidless. There's a certain
light. There's a light.
Yeah. His hair.
Yeah,
like,
everything.
You see everything. It's just a rosy, just like, what am I going to do today? But it's really, I wish, like, I always think this, and I want this for you and your wife, if you could be you now and just like always be present, like if you could have my perspective.
Yes, of course.
Because
right.
I mourn them being kids all the time. I dream about them. I remember when I was in the UK, I was shooting season 5 of Better Things. I was dreaming about my kids being kids every night. Because there's like the veil breaks and they really become grown-ups and they are in the world. And, it's just an astonishing thing, because no matter what the dynamic is at home and how many hurt feelings you get as a parent, which is like the most you'll ever have in your life. Like, oh shit, that really fucking hurts me. The perspective and the feedback that you get from other adults about your kids, it's profound. And so like if somebody says something about my kids and I'm like, you should have seen what fucking cunt she was being this morning or something like that. They don't need to know that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We have wonderful teachers at our boys' school, and we were saying, God, one of them is just, being a lot at home. And the teacher said, well, it's exhausting because they are very good kids all day. And as they're great kids in school. And then they get home and that's when they have to let it all out. But they go, just know we're not getting the worst of them. You're getting the worst of them. And they're great when they're with us.
That's
and then
absolutely
you're like,
true.
and that's better. You would, you'd prefer that. I mean, you have to pay the cost.
Yeah. Well, you pay a lot
it's-
to send them there and for them to say those things to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
To the tune of, okay. But,
They're wonderful at school. And they
Yes.
just count
I mean, it's
their
just
money.
like this.
To
It's
the
like
tune
Ben's
of
teach.
licensing a Beatles song.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking totally. I remember one of my kids' teachers saying at the parents' night, I am going to, over the course of the next school year, spend more time with your kids than you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's really true. But like the second they walk in that door, it's Kramer versus Kramer. You're like, what did you know what I mean? Don't eat the ice cream, Billy.
Good, Dustin Hoffman.
Thank you.
Really good, out of nowhere.
I always remember we watched Kramer versus Kramer at home in New Hampshire once. And at the end, and who is it with Dustin Hoffman? Who's the
Meryl
woman?
Streep.
Meryl Streep.
So Meryl Streep is she's crying.
Josh is sort of famously not into her, so he kind of forgets her often.
That's not
She's
true.
my cousin.
Is she really?
Yeah, I found this out on Finding Your Roots.
Oh, great.
Oh, that kind of cousin? So not a cousin?
But so Meryl
Yeah.
Streep's in tears, and she's like about to go see the kid, and she's crying, and she asked Dustin Hoffman, she's like, how do I look? Or she's like, I look terrible, and he says, no, you look great. And I remember sitting there saying, no, she doesn't, and everyone like hissed me down, like it was like, shut up, Josh. Like this is a really wonderful moment in this movie.
She's radiant and glowing. All she did was wipe tears off her face.
Yeah, but in my like whatever it was, 10-year-old brain, I was like, she's crying. She's a mess.
Yeah.
She looks a mess. That Meryl Streep.
You look terrific.
It's a good Dustin Hoffman. You know, we don't do a lot of impressions on the podcast, but this is top 5.
Yeah. If you're listening and not watching it on YouTube.
Edward Kimberly. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, now it's getting a little worse.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was being Tootsie taking off the makeup at the. It's fine.
Yeah.
That everybody says about you, like her Kramer versus Kramer Hoffman's really good. The Tootsie's rocky. Her Tootsie
She got
Hoffman's a
too
little-
much positive feedback on the Kramer
now
versus
she's
Kramer.
Totally. I was all gassed up.
So do you have all right, you don't name names, and obviously
Yeah.
do you when you have 3 kids, because I find this right now, rotating favorite?
Duh.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think that way when they're little, but you really think that way when they're little. Like you're just like, oh God, you know, there's the moment where, you know, somebody pops off on you. And if you have 3 or more that you go, oh, great, you were my last fun child. It's over. You know, I remember one of my friends saying she's a single mom, 2 girls, to her oldest, who was still like young at that time, but maybe like pushing 10, 9. And she looked at her daughter and she said, you just lost your cute. You just lost your cute. Like there's a whole bunch of currency that comes with being adorable and sweet and a kid, so they can be a asshole. But it's like, you know, Phil Rosenthal, his first book is called You're Lucky, You're Funny, which is what Monica, his wife, would say to him all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to have something going for you. You got to give me something. Because
I heard a friend of mine say to one of her children, which I thought was, I like that a lot, which is she goes, I love you. You're making it very hard for me to like you. And that's really good. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that resonates with kids.
Yeah, because they get scared because they have to own that.
Mm-hmm.
They just think the love is automatic. And we've told them, I love you no matter what. You know, I mean, there's no line. Maybe Nazi porn, you know, you know, that might be the line.
Right.
But,
hopefully.
Yeah.
It's at least a conversation. Hey, we got to talk about this.
How many steaming turds can I drop into one lovely family podcast?
No, it's good. It's good. You can't believe how often Nazi porn comes up on this. I was with so I had all 3 kids. I'm no hero, by the way, but I had all 3 kids this weekend by myself. And I was then walking the boys. My wife was getting home Monday night. I was walking the boys to school on Monday morning. And at one point I just stopped and I said, I can't talk to either of you anymore. You have to talk to each other. I can't answer any more questions. I have run out of energy for both of you. And I have a real good thing going right now, which is they're both wearing glasses, which makes their eyes look like super big. And they just like looked up with me with their dumb faces like, huh?
Oh, no. That's amazing because I had this conversation with my 88-year-old mother yesterday.
About you didn't want her to ask you any more questions?
No more. We're at quiet time now.
Yeah.
We need quiet time.
We
Quiet
have
time's great.
one of those. We have one of those for a mom. Like just Alex Trebek didn't ask as many questions as our mom does in one afternoon.
Oh my God.
So
bless
your
them.
mom lives next door to you now?
Yeah.
And how is it in general?
She has literally crossed over into, she's either a toddler or a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
There, defiant toddler, asshole teenager.
So lose. Massive lose for you.
Absolutely. And it's stressful. I sat down with her and I said, okay, we got to talk about going into a restaurant. Okay. Let's start with that.
Okay, great. What are the problems? Give us the things your mom needs to improve going to the restaurant.
We just need to sit down and be grateful that we're there, and we don't send back the water right away. I'm not making this up. If it's, I said, you can't do that. It's too stressful for me. It's too stressful for me.
Yeah. That's a good tact.
Also, if something's not right or what, we have this huge conversation. Yesterday, I did a show at the Groundlings, and Kathy Griffin was there, and I told her about my mother, and I said, my mother's in the audience, and my body's just regulating from going to dinner with her at Cantor's. And the woman who was serving us, single mom, because she's talking to us, she's great. Nana does some fucked up thing off the bat, and I'm like, we discussed this. Sent the water back. I'd like one ice cube. I say to the girl, I'm like, what's your name? She's like, Tatiana. I go, how many? I go, do you deal with this? She goes, this is Cantor's.
Yeah.
I
Kinda
go,
asking for it. Line of fire.
yeah, totally. I go, okay, I have 2 questions. What's a kishka? And 2, are you a single mom? And she goes, yeah, of 4. I can smell it. I mean, it's like, you see like the pan about Josh. He's like,
right.
Puck.
It's the reverse of the Josh glow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, oh yeah. And
Josh has stolen her light, is basically.
No,
Yeah.
I want to give her light. I might go to Cantor's later this afternoon.
Yeah,
See if
get
I
a
can get
kishka.
Tatiana.
I gave her a massive tip.
Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, that's another thing. Like, I'm fascinated right now with aging.
Yeah.
It's all I think about. I'm totally fascinated by it. My brother is somebody who became a single dad of 3 when I became a single mom.
He got back at you for moving out at the same time as him.
Turnabout is fair play.
Oh, are you a single mom? Well, guess what, Pamela?
Yeah. Fuck you for getting a BMW when I had a lemon yellow Dodge Dart used. No, that's so funny. Yeah, same time, same year, same month, we separated, and the father of my 3 girls moved to another continent, and the mother of his 3 boys moved thousands of miles away.
Wow.
And my brother and I were sitting there and my brother, I remember he was like gasping for air because he just had the wind knocked out of him. He was going to stay in that marriage, no matter what it was like, toxicity. He was totally clotheslined. And he said, what are the odds that you and you'd have 3 girls, I'd have 3 boys, and that their parents would leave? Same time. It was stunning, actually. He then met my new sister-in-law, who I love her. I think she saved his life. And then he took her 3 kids on as
Whoa.
well.
Goodness.
And so he's just my fucking hero. I'm going to cry.
Did you
Did those-
guys?
My
Did
bully
those-
is my hero.
Your boy is
Yeah.
your hero. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love him.
Do your daughters and his sons get along?
They adore each other.
That's nice.
His sons are geniuses. His sons are, 2 of his sons are virtuoso, brilliant musicians. And his other son is in the business sector like he is, and just incredible.
And plays the
Incredible.
kazoo. He plays.
Are your daughters the best? Are your daughters the best version of themselves when they're around their cousins?
Incredible. You're
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Is that a thing?
I just got a sense. I was like, oh, I bet this is. It just sounded like they get along, and I bet when you're around 3 brothers, and I bet the boys are too. Like there must be something about seeing yourself through the eyes of I don't know, cousins, where you're like, oh, let's be better.
We just recently, we were all together, and we had one of my nephews here, all 3 of my daughters, my brother, his wife, my mom. And because Adam was here, my nephew, it elevated the whole night. It was like spectacular. And they feel so connected. Like those core feelings and memories in the kids and people, you'll never divest them from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you take trips? Have you taken trips with all of them?
Yes, we did Divorce Mexico.
All right.
It was the Brady Bunch on steroids.
How old were the girls for Divorce Mexico?
Okay, Divorce Mexico was 12, 9, and 6.
Oh man! And now, how were they? Were they like going through the trauma of the divorce in Divorce Mexico?
It was, again, it was a rare opportunity that they were there with their boy cousins
Mm-hmm.
and all together. That's where the bond really formed.
I mean, what a nice support system you and your brother must have been for each other. I can't imagine either of you going through that alone.
Yeah, it was pretty, it was pretty crazy that being able for us all to form a nucleus and be like an antibody all together.
It's
crazy.
the same thing for me because like sometimes I'll say to Josh like, oh, the 3 kids are driving me crazy, and he'll be like, yeah, the line for my kale smoothie was really long, so I know what you're going through.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Wait in line for a kale smoothie. I make my own kale smoothies.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
like,
you have
"I'm
time
sorry.
to make your own kale
I'm going to a
smoothie.
double feature right now. Do you need anything else, Seth?
I'm gonna go catch Barbieheimer again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go stand in line for standby seats at Wicked.
When's the
So,
last? So your girls all in their 20s. When was the last time the 4 of you took a trip together?
so that was 5 years ago.
Okay.
They're all, they all are women in the world.
Yeah.
They all have boyfriends now and I don't. So it's like, I was trying to couch they all have sex and I don't. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah. Of
that
course.
one moment it's the one moment when your kids, you're like, okay, everybody get to bed, that's the mantra all the time. Just please go the fuck to sleep. Like Samuel L. Jackson
yeah.
says. And then finally you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to bed.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah.
And they're all awake. Yeah.
Pretty good.
The drop.
The
The drop.
Yeah.
There's different drops. Yeah.
I want to ask real quick because we have some questions for you. But congratulations, you have a movie, Babes, coming out.
Thank you.
It was incredibly well received at South by Southwest. This is your first feature you've directed,
That's right.
so that means it's the first premiere you got to go to of a film you directed. Was it a trip?
I was not prepared because I just thought it was, we're going to South by to see the movie and it's opening on May 17th. Like I didn't connect that it was the world premiere, but it was kind of an extraordinary thing because 5 of my dearest friends were there. And my friend Josh flew in from New York, and then 3 of my friends flew in from LA, and then one of my friends was there because she manages Brooke Shields. So I've never had people like that around my people. And my friend Josh looked at me and he said, "No more alone. No more alone," which was like really incredible. And it was an incredible experience. We were at the Paramount. They closed down Congress for us. The theater was packed, and watching it in the theater, feeling that energy of being in a theater, seeing a movie like Josh does every day.
Yep.
It's so infectious. And it was just like, I'm like, is this just because like they know that me and Alana and Michelle Buteau were all there? But it was one of the biggest moments for me professionally. Like I was just like, wow.
And having a comedy that works in front of an audience, there's no greater feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to wait till the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And just a packed house for a comedy that's working, laughter feeds laughter, and it's the best. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Are your daughters proud of you?
I did turn to one of my friends, I think it was Paola, and I was like, I don't think the girls understand what's happening here right now.
Yeah.
Because it was junket, it was like the thing feeding up to it, and then the premiere, and it was like, whoa, like I was shocked. I didn't expect it. And I was like, I just don't think that they can know what's happening. But I came home from that trip. Bye. I can't talk.
Oh, no.
Sounds like your daughters did something very sweet.
They had balloons for me.
Oh.
Stop it. Ew.
No, this is great. This is great.
Make me cry.
I cry all the time.
I cry all the time, too.
They had balloons for me and caviar and champagne.
That, especially that thing where you don't think they even know and they knew. Because clearly your friend Paula called them and was like,
I
"You
know.
dummies."
That's what those friends are for.
Swear to God.
Oh, that's really great. Good for them. Good for all of you. Can I tell you real quick, and then Josh can ask a question. Sometimes when I just want to be cheered up, I have like some go-to like cheer up things. That better things dance scene.
Yeah.
It just like cheers me up. And, it's why it was such a wonderful show, and but that I think it's season 2, the end of season 2,
the finale.
Thank
Thank
just so
you.
wonderful. So,
I'm
all right,
so
now,
happy.
Now Josh is gonna ask you some questions.
All right, some quick questions. You can only pick one of these. Is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Educational.
All right.
Go. What's your favorite means of transportation? Train, plane, automobile, boat, bike, walking?
Boat.
Boat. All right. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
Come on, Josh.
Look,
This is
some
not-
people aren't going to want to be on that island. Some people, maybe they'll be like, I'd be happy to be left behind.
My grandfather, Harry.
Okay.
He was a funny man. I found his letters recently that he wrote to my dad, the correspondence. It's incredible. I have to publish it. It's like he was.
What did he do? If your father was a comedy writer, and same with you, was he?
So
did he work in the business at all?
His father was a junk man.
Okay.
And they had. So the business became penny slots, and then it became like slot machines, and then they were in like Vegas. And then the story goes that they sold the business and bought racing dogs. And all I could remember is the Jim Jarmusch movie, Horses, Not Dogs. Horses, not dogs. And then they, the whole family, bad blood, my father and his brothers, like the whole thing. But yeah, I would pick Harry Siegel.
Great.
Good pick.
Good pick. And you're from Manhattan, safe to say? Yeah.
And I'm not a bum.
Would you recommend Manhattan as a vacation destination?
I mean, the city's changed so much, guys. I mean, I wouldn't go to Midtown yes, I would recommend Manhattan.
It's a layup.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then Seth has 2 questions, or sort of finishing questions.
Have you been to the Grand Canyon?
I don't remember.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. How?
I've been to the Meteor Crater in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. I've been
Okay.
to that one, too.
All right. Well, since we can't remember if we've been to the Grand Canyon, was the Meteor Canyon worth it? Would you tell people, oh, God.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's fucking cool.
Right.
And I would plan your trips with intention. That's the biggest piece of advice. It's like, or travel alone.
Yeah.
You're going to have such a rich experience.
That sounds nice.
But traveling with a family.
Traveling with a family, I agree with you 100%. The intention part is key. You don't want to get anywhere. Do not use your time away from home having the same boring conversations about what we're going to do now. Like, know what you're going to do.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I would say is try to get a kitchenette wherever you stay. Prepare your own food. You're going to save so much fucking money. It's unbelievable, and it's like, I would travel with the girls. We'd have a little kitchenette or just a little side thing. And I'll get like sardines and avocados and eggs and cheese and bread and PB&J. You're good. Bananas. Yeah. You don't have to go to a restaurant. Don't spend your money on hotel food when you've got 3 kids, for God's sake, woman.
And then the girls would come back and be like, you have to go to France and have the PB&J in your kitchenette.
There you go. They would be like, Mom, why do we have to eat sardines again? Okay.
Pamela, thank you so much. Isn't it lovely seeing you again? Lovely talking.
I mean,
it's a gorgeous day out. Go grab
It is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh.
And to think I'm going to spend it in a movie theater just watching whatever's
Babes.
out there, cuz I'll see Babes.
Yeah, Babes. And thank you so much to the ghost of your father for joining us with his angrily slapping a scroll off the wall.
I'll let him know.
Love you, Pamela. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Take care of yourselves.
Family trips with the Myers brothers.